Hi, Congregation Beth Am. It's Rabbi Rosenberg back with another Torah teaching. And this week in Parashat Emor, the book of Leviticus, beginning with chapter 21, verse 1, we are told, as an instruction to the priests especially, do not defile yourself for any person among your people. Well, the word for any person here is nephesh. There's a lot of words that the Torah has for people. In this case, it used the word nephesh, and that becomes very important because Rav Ye'ivi points out that that same word, or at least that same root, nephesh, which can mean soul or person, also can be used as a word of rest. Back when God creates the world, we're told Vayi nafash, God rested on the seventh day. So Rav Ye'ivi reads it as, do not defile yourself through rest among your people. In other words, he says, the instruction we're being given is to never give up on holiness. That defiling yourself to him means turning away from holiness, turning away from God. He says, do not defile yourself by turning away from God through an act of rest. We're supposed to never give up, never stop striving for God, never rest. Now that sounds particularly harsh or extreme, almost military-like in its devotion, and not very reassuring right now, maybe. But he also includes a really important story. He includes a story of an ancient rabbi from the Talmud, Rabbi Ze'ira. And Rabbi Ze'ira was a great scholar, but then he got old and weak, and he said, I'm no longer able to continually go to the house of study. So instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the house of study and not study. Instead, I'm going to sit outside the house of study, and when the sages walk by, I will try and at least stand up for them. And by doing at least that much, I'll still gain some merit. Now, it's an extraordinary story because, among other things, it's talking about adapting to our current situation, but still finding holiness in doing that. Rav Ze'ira spent his entire life studying, and that was his primary way of encountering and creating holiness. And when he wasn't able to do that anymore, rather than just completely give up or fall into despair, he realized there was something else he could do that might not be as outwardly impressive, but it was at that time in his life the most he could do, and that made it extraordinary. That made it potentially holy. We can serve God in so many different ways, but the ways that we can serve God, the ways that we can pursue and create holiness, they depend very much on our current situation and on our current state of being. We can't always do it in the same way. It depends entirely on how strong or tired or excited or worried or whatever else we're feeling in that moment. Serving God, trying to make the world holier, trying to be more aware of holiness in the world, doesn't look the same for each of us at every moment. It changes from day to day, and it changes from hour to hour and minute to minute sometimes. Sometimes we can create holiness through grand acts of kindness towards other people, or through deep prayer or intense study, and sometimes we just don't have that in us. Sometimes the best that we can do, and it is great and holy, is to just get up in the morning. Sometimes just getting through an ordinary day is our act of holiness for that day. We should be pursuing holiness every moment of every day, but what that means isn't always the exact same thing. I guess what I'm really saying is, no matter how you're feeling today, no matter how you're feeling at this moment, there's a chance to use that towards holiness. There will be days when we can do great things. We can do impressive things. We can do amazing things. And there are days when we can barely get through the day. And every single one of those days has a chance for holiness and transcendence. So wherever you are today, whatever you're feeling, I hope that you find a way to make it at least a bit of a holy moment. I hope that you find some holiness in your life. And I hope that whatever you're feeling today, you're feeling something even better tomorrow. Take care, everybody.